Hello, everyone. Today I am with Latif Nasser. He's a host at the Netflix series Connected. From Beauty Bird predicting hurricanes to our poop showing history, everything is connected. Thank you, Latif, for taking out time and being at Behta, Pani.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to talk to you.
Same here. It's an honor that you are here, and I must say that the show is amazing. If you have not watched this show, I highly recommend that you should watch the show on the Netflix today. So let's start with what motivates Latif Nasser? What inspires you?
I think that for me, the work that I do, the thing that I love the most about it, the thing that makes me get out of bed every morning to do the work that I do, I think it's most often it's that, if you find I'm just so gravitated towards stories, and in particular stories about our world, stories about people that are surprising, that are wondrous, that are beautiful, that are kind of extraordinary. It's hard to explain. I don't even know if I know exactly what I'm looking for in stories, but I just there's certain stories, and I'm sure this is true in your life too. When you hear about them, you just want to tell everybody.
Yes.
And so for me, the fun is finding those stories that nobody else really knows about,
Yeah.
and then telling everybody. That's basically like my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. And I liked it in your show that initially you ask questions and then try to dig up like how you can find the answers, because that is what quite important for me, because like in science as well, we ask questions and then try to find answers, and that's how life is supposed to be, I believe.
Yeah, and it's often confusing and messy, and it's not always totally satisfying.
Yes.
But it also can be really twisty, and it just something comes in from a direction you totally didn't expect. To me, that's there's something very honest and fun about that.
Yeah.
And I to me, the journey is as much fun as the answer. The journey is often always more fun than the answer.
Yeah.
So to me, hopefully it's like in my work I try to do, and in my radio journalism too, it's like let people walk with you, and then when you get there, it may or may not be exactly what they were hoping, but at least they had fun along the way.
I can relate to that. When in the show you said like I'm going to Sahara to catch a fish, and I was like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
And then he said I catch fish, and then I realized, okay, that's what you're doing. That was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of dumb jokes. The full of dumb jokes.
So let me ask you, like, what's your personal story? Like, how did you come up with the show, and how did you pull this off? Like, this is amazing. It's a big show. How did you come up with that?
Yeah, I was very lucky to be approached. So I was already, before this, I was a science journalist, and the way I ended up there was, I always loved science, but I was never very good at it. I'm sure you must have the mental fortitude and patience that I just didn't. So I always liked science, but I was never really I was never really good at it. And reading scientific papers and stuff, they would never just click in my head the way that I wish they would. And I realized that there was this other field called the history of science, which is kind of deals with so much of the same kind of topics. It's like you get to study science without studying science necessarily. It's like you're studying people and stories, the stories behind the science, how it got to be that way. Who are the people that did it? What was going on in their worlds that made them think that way? So I got into this field, the history of science, which is in a way a kind of a field about how do we know what we know,
Yes.
And I got into that. And so then I sort of from there, from academia, I went on to journalism. And then I got approached by this production company, this wonderful production company, who had this kind of vision for, they're called 0.0. And what they'd done before, I don't know if you know the work of Anthony Bourdain. They had done a lot of his shows. So he was like a food, he was a chef. And he basically, before him, a lot of food TV was just someone in a kitchen, making a thing. And then they took this guy and they were like, okay, he's going to go all over the world, you know, and he's going to go to Tokyo and Paris and Vietnam and Congo and all these places, you know. And so they did that, and it was very successful. And I think they had the vision of doing a similar thing for the world of kind of like a hosted science show. So they were like, what if we exploded it out? It wasn't just, you know, sort of a scientist in a lab or in a studio setting, like doing experiments or something. What if we just exploded that out and took someone and just sent them all over the world and like, and let them kind of look over scientists' shoulders, like as those scientists were doing like really cool things in really cool places.
That's
and
cool.
So that was kind of, and for some reason, they picked me. I was lucky. And
Yeah,
so
they
we
must have
kind
seen
of,
your TED Talk, I believe.
that's what happened. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And so then they, like, we together, they were like, hey, would you be up for trying this? And I said, sure. And we spent like over a year trying to figure out like, what's a good idea? How would it work? What would be the structure? How can we do something that feels a little bit different than, you know, Planet Earth or something you'd see on Discovery Channel or something? Like, how do we do something different? And then like sort of through inspiration from a bunch of other stuff and just noodling around, we kind of came up with this sort of idea, this structure of like our connected world, and the idea of like, okay, this host is going to go, you're going to get flung all over the world, but then the fun part is like, how do you connect it all the way back to the viewer at home, so that like, even though I'm watching you in a totally different place of the world that I probably will never even go to in my whole life, somehow this is about me. Somehow my breath or my poop or my this or my that, it's all wrapped up together. So that was kind of the genesis of the whole idea.
That's nice. Like I can relate. Like in one of the episodes you mentioned like about the dust coming from Sahara and how it's affecting the Amazon rainforest and the red tides. So I think that's amazing. That was like how you connected. I could see that.
And that's the hope, I think, is that each one of these episodes, in some way, you feel like, no matter who you are, you feel like some part of it touches you, you know, that some part of it touches your life, even if it's in this like very indirect way, you know, like it's like a bank shot into your life. But somehow like it touches you.
So let me come to the funny stories. There must be some, like, because you have traveled a lot, you have been to so many places, met so many people.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some good ones.
Stories.
There was one where when we went into the Sahara with this wonderful Chadian scientist, Dr. Musa, so we would be out kind of in this place, the Beaudelet Depression. And so it's one of the windiest, dustiest places in the world. And they have these kind of like, it's like basically so we went in the not windy season on purpose. But then when we went in the not windy season, they're like, oh yeah, there's certain times of the day when you just like, you can't do anything. And so we were like, oh, okay, like, well, that's fine. We'll just, you know, like, well, but what it turned out was like, it was basically like too windy all of the time. Like it kept interrupting our production. So for instance, there was one night we were all camping out. Like it was really middle of nowhere, no buildings, no nothing. Like, so for instance, one night we did a time lapse. You know, you do like a time lapse, like it's like, so we have the tent and we wanted the moon to come up and then the sun to come up. We wanted like a beautiful time lapse. So we put the tent there. It was so windy, the tent blew away in the middle of the time lapse. We couldn't even, I don't even know if we used that shot or not. And the idea was that I was supposed to be sleeping in that tent, but I wasn't sleeping in that tent. I was sleeping because I didn't want to sleep in a tent. I wanted to sleep outside, but then it would be weird to just film me sleeping outside. But then anyway, so I was supposed to be sleeping in the tent. And then the tent blew away and they're like, we can't use this shot. People will think we died or something. Another thing was that again, while we were in the Sahara, basically there was almost, I mean, I want to say like half of a day basically that it was so windy, it was so dusty that there was in this whole area, like as far as you could see in every direction, there was one tree. And so
Wow.
what happened was we had tried to set up all these, tents and structures and stuff so we thought, okay, when it gets too dusty, we'll hunker down in these tents. And all the tents blew away. The dust was too strong. Like it
Wow.
really clearly was not going to work. So the whole crew, and we had a lot of people, camera people, the director, the producer, the security person, the sound guy, and that's just our crew. And then in addition, we had soldiers and cooks and all these, and a doctor and porters and like all these other people who were coming with us. There's this long caravan of cars. And we all had to huddle underneath this one tree, and we were all like basically like hugging each other underneath this tree because the wind was so strong. And so for hours and hours and hours, we were just sitting there doing nothing, like just waiting for this to pass. And I asked Dr. Musa, because he goes out there all the time, and I was like, how do you deal with this? How do you do science under these conditions? And he was like, sometimes I'll be digging for something and then a dust storm will start and I'll have to go into my car and I just wait until it's over. Whoa. And I said, oh, how long does that last? And he's like, oh, sometimes 2 days, 3 days. And I'd be like, you just waiting in your car for 2 days? And he's like, yeah, no big deal. And it's like just that kind of commitment. Like you're like, oh my God.
I can't imagine committing to something like that in my entire life or something.
I know. And it's like no big deal to him. Like he does it because he loves it, because it's so exciting. Like when there's a scene in that episode where we stumble upon that fish and usually in TV, like when someone stumbles upon something, like they actually they sort of planted it ahead of time and but like we really discovered that right in that moment. And you could see just on his face, he was so excited. He was so excited. And so to me, I don't know, there was something just kind of magnificent about that. It was a sort of absurd trip. Like for me, I actually visited the Sahara before, but never like that. And just to see that this man loved what he did so much to be able to like sit in his car for 3 days. I'm sure he's like peeing in a little water bottle or something, whatever he's doing. It was amazing to see that kind of level of commitment.
Wow. That's pure out of love. I mean, there is no other emotion that you can just stay there for, like doing science for that. It's nice. Let me come to my next question. What are the struggles, like most struggles, like hurdles, what you faced during the shooting? I'm sure that there must be some.
Yeah. Oh, there were a lot. I think like the biggest struggle probably was not for me. I had a fun time because they'd be like, okay, dream up as many stories as you want and make them as global as you want and go to the furthest flung corners of the world that you could think of or whatever. So I would do that. But then the really hard thing was we had at the production company, there was a kind of a team of producers and directors and the showrunner and all these logistics folks who were trying to figure out, like, so it was 6 episodes with approximately 6 locations each. So that's 36 stories and locations all over the world, all over the US, all over the world. And so it was really like a kind of like they had to plan. We had 3 different production teams. So I would like take red eyes like almost every night or every other night, and I would join them in different places. And so you'd need like, in each place you'd need a certain team, and then and everybody had their respective, conflicts. And someone would be like, oh, no, I'm working on, the sound guy can work for this time to this time, but then has another commitment on a different day. And so it was just like the scheduling of it was like, it was a 7-dimensional puzzle. I'm shocked that they pulled it off. Like, and they would, and for me, it was very easy. Like I would get a phone call and I'd be, in, Portugal or something, and they'd be like, okay, we need you to come to San Francisco tomorrow. Okay. And I'd be like, sure. But the amount of work that they had to do behind the scenes to make that happen, it was a lot.
And there must be a jet lag involved, like traveling from one part of the continent to another. There must be like, oh, this is my sleeping time.
Oh, yeah. No, I would wake up in the middle of the night and it would be dark. And I'd be like, I do not know where on earth I am. Like I could be anywhere.
Anywhere.
I don't know. And
Oh.
I remember one particular time, like I think I was in a hotel room, but the light was so dark,
Mhm.
and I had to go to the bathroom, and I was like, I don't even know where the bathroom is. Like I don't know. I could be anywhere. I have no clue.
Well,
It was a very disorienting feeling, but it was it was kind of cool. It made me feel like Jason Bourne or something, you know? Yeah.
nice, nice. Let me come to my last part of this. What's
Sure.
next for you? What's next? Where are we? When are we seeing the next season two
Well,
or something else?
yeah, I hope season two. It sort of depends on how many people watch. Netflix is really a data company, so they look at how many people are watching, where are they watching, are they the right demographics, that kind of thing. And if enough people watch and they decide it's like sort of a good return on investment for them, then they'll green light a season two, which
Nice,
I hope they do. I have tons of ideas. I have tons of things. Like I
awesome.
just even last night I was like coming up with new ideas, and I was like, oh,
Wow.
this is so fun. Um, Other than that, I am.
And the data should
I
follow Benford's law as well.
oh yes, right, exactly, right. Yeah, I know. I wonder. We actually did the some of the folks at the production company. They ran our show's budget through
Really?
Benford's law, and it worked. It fit
Wow.
Benford's law. Yeah. So we wanted to put that in the episode, but then it was too weird to kind of explain it. But anyway, yeah, the show's budget fit Benford's law, which was very funny. And then. Yeah, so there's that, and then also I still am working this other job in radio and podcasting.
Mhm.
So I work for the show Radiolab, and I'm still doing stories for them, and we actually have some really cool, kind of exciting stuff in store this fall
Nice.
that I'm
Looking forward to that.
really really excited about, and I may have some other sort of secret projects I'm working on now that
Nice.
will debut a little later too.
Nice. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to ask. Personally, I'm very happy to have you on my show, and like your show connected is amazing. Like when I saw it, when I was in, me and my wife were like, "Oh, that's so awesome!" Like we were like we could relate ourselves with that. So it's incredible. Any last thoughts, Latif?
Well, I think for me, I think the exciting thing in a way for me is to sort of reflect the glory of, I think, some of the real exciting work that's being done out in the world. And I think right now is a time when, as you know, probably even better than I, like science and authority are really under a kind of a cynical, skeptical kind of threat, and to life and death, kind of to the detriment of literally people's lives. And I think that if anything, I hope this show helps people, maintain a healthy skepticism of science, but also really be able to trust that, hey, there are people out there who are well-meaning people who are trying to tease out kind of these cosmic mysteries, and are trying to save us, and we should trust them because we really need to. And I think, I mean, scientists like yourself. So I'm really glad that so many scientists have kind of wanted to share their stories with me, and have wanted to participate and help. So I really hope that that this kind of, I don't know, that there are some people out there who are not sure who to trust or something, and then they watch the show
That's
and maybe
true.
it'll put them over the edge.
Nice, nice. Thank you so much, Latif, for being at Behta, Pani. So be happy and enjoy the surprises of life.
Thank you so much.